Year's. I bet you have that long list of New Year's resolutions, and I wonder how many of them came from last year.
Or maybe you don't have that list because last year, instead of losing those 25 pounds by March, you'd gained another 5.
Do your New Year's resolutions feel like the movie Groundhog Day? They just keep repeating themselves year after year after year?
And you think, this is the year I'm going to hem that yellow dress, or lose that extra 25 pounds, or this year I'm finally going to make an effort to date, and I want to be in a relationship by the end of the year.
Yellow dress?
Well, one of my elementary school teachers said that she actually was going to hem up her yellow dress. She never ended up hemming the yellow dress and finally gave it to DI. I remember New Year's Eve, I think it was my second Christmas as a mid-single. I was driving my car north to take my kids back from the holidays to get them to school up in the state of Washington. And I pulled my car off at the Flying J in Snowville, Utah, which, if you've ever been there, is in the middle of nowhere. And I came back out and my car wouldn't start. And I tried everything I normally would to get it to start, jumping the battery and so forth. Nothing worked. And so I called a towing company. Luckily was able to find someone who would come out on New Year's Eve and look at my car. He told me he thought my timing belt was probably gone, which turned out to be true. Well, I wasn't ready to have him tow my car or do anything yet. I wanted time to think. I knew that I only had about $300 in my checking account. It wouldn't be enough to get my car fixed. I sat stewing and feeling ashamed all that long night as I sat and pondered what to do. And I thought, I have a doctorate and a postdoctorate degree. How am I here? And I think sometimes, this was actually New Year's Eve, and I worried that no one was even going to be able to look at my car for 3 more days. It was a long weekend. But I think a lot of times on New Year's, we start assessing our lives and where we're at. I would also say that we were able to get that situation taken care of, but it felt like such a wake-up call to me that I vowed on that New Year's, I will never be in this situation again. It was kind of like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, with God as my witness, I'll never be hungry again. And then the next New Year's rolled around and I was still hungry, figuratively speaking. I was still kind of broke. My situation in life had not changed all that much. And I started to really reevaluate that New Year. Why had my life not come together the way I had hoped? Why had my vow not materialized? The answer I kept getting when I prayed about this was, you are meant to shine, not to hide your light under a bushel. And that came to me several times, and funny enough, within a couple of weeks, I made a very bold Facebook post about things I could do professionally, and a new career opportunity materialized, which was the beginning of a lot of good things in my life. So I think the new year can be that kind of opportunity to reassess and reevaluate.
One of the things that keeps us interested in our goals and in continuing in our goals is when we have some kind of momentum. And if we're feeling stuck because we're not seeing the results we want, perhaps it's time to take another look, and instead of seeing the results as the momentum, see our own actions as the momentum, because that's something we can control. If we can control what we're doing to get to the result and consider that the progress, that is the momentum, it will keep us interested longer and keep our resolutions going throughout the year rather than just having it be in January and then we give up in February.
It's kind of funny, I think about this cartoon I saw once, and this girl is crying on her bed, and the caption is, I've been dieting all morning and I haven't lost any weight yet. Well, I think sometimes it feels a little bit like that. We want to see results a lot faster than they come. And I think many times we give up before we give the results of our efforts time to materialize.
And those results might be just around the corner.
In a way, it's kind of like standing over your garden and shaking your fist and demanding that your plants grow faster.
And then stopping on the plants when they didn't grow fast enough and not allowing them to flourish in their own time.
Tony Robbins often says that most people grossly overestimate how much they can do in 1 year and grossly underestimate how much they can do in 5. And that has been true in my life. The difficulty is you kind of need somebody to help you stay on track, to help you stay focused on those goals, to keep reminding you of your why, and to help you see the thought patterns that are keeping you from getting where you want to go.
And even more than helping you stay focused on your goals, a good life coach can show up in ways that you may not be able to for yourself. For instance, there might be thoughts that are keeping you stuck, thoughts that could be elevated to a better way of thinking that will support the emotional energy that you need to create the results you want in your life. Because we often focus on the behaviors that will create the results, but that's not going back far enough. We need to go to the thoughts that create the emotional energy that then contribute to whatever behavior we are putting out there that create the results that we either want or don't want.
Believe me, I know what it's like to be broke, to have no money, and someone comes along and says, you know what you really need is a life coach or a therapist, and you say, wait a minute, I can barely keep my lights on. And you wonder why, how could you possibly afford that? All I can really tell you is, until you do afford it, until you do find a way to get some help, it can feel like a really long, hard slog.
I've worked with clients in my coaching practice who have ended up in a better place financially, much better than before they started, simply because of the work that they did with me as the facilitator to come to their own wise conclusions to make their life better. And it naturally resulted in a better financial outlook.
And bringing a more vibrant persona and more life energy to whatever endeavors you choose, whether it be in business or other careers or a relationship. Very important to be able to do that with a little bit of gumption, with a little bit of gusto, and changing your thought patterns can make literally all the difference.
And it takes time to do that, because changing thought patterns isn't something that happens overnight either. We are in patterns with our thoughts, sometimes for decades, and we can absolutely change those patterns, but it has to be something we do intentionally and with assistance from a good life coach.
Early in our marriage, I was making about half the amount of money that I do now and that I did when I sold my business. Such an amazing thing, but I think back to those times and I was, in a way, kind of shaking my fist and telling my plants I wanted them to grow faster. But Cathy could tell you I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, going to networking events and doing all this stuff to build my business. And I was working about 12 or 13 hours a day. And I remember saying to Cathy one day, I'm running a real 3-ring circus right now. I'm trying all these things. I'm experimenting. I think in a year or two, though, we're going to see the results. And a couple years later, my income doubled. I had to believe in that before I ever had any evidence that it was going to come about. And sometimes you need somebody to hold your hand a little bit and help you believe. Our challenge to you today is to get a coach, whether it's us or somebody else.
But we would love to be your coach, and we are both certified.
We would love to have you as a client of Lily Coaching and challenge you to do something this year to take your life in a new and more positive direction.
And we'd love to support you in doing that.
Go ahead and give us a call or email us at the email address below. Remember, any time is a great time for more love in your life.